that liqueur de Tonnant, the most amazing port I have ever had in my life, and I cannot find it anywhere in the U.S. I have been calling everybody. I finally emailed the vineyard in Uruguay and said, okay, do you have a distributor in the United States? Because I need to bring it.
All right, it's 6:05. We'll call the meeting to order.
Chairman Canfield.
Here.
Beecham is absent. Caldwelder.
Here.
Schauben. Schauben.
Schaben.
They're taking roll.
Spicer.
Here.
We have 4 out of 5.
All right, I would entertain a motion to excuse the absence of Perry, who is trapped out of town in the bad weather.
So moved.
Support?
Yes, I support.
We have a motion and support to excuse the absence of Board Member Beecham. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to item 2, approval of the agenda.
Just mention one thing. We have an item 10 on the agenda, possible action resulting from closed session. We won't need that tonight, so I'll just make that clarification ahead of time.
Okay.
X out the X.
X out the X.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll support.
We have a motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to approval of the minutes of our December 11th regular board meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the December 11th meeting.
I'll support.
We have a motion and support. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You also have the closed session minutes in your packet from the same meeting, December 11th.
I'd like to, move it, have a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes.
I'll support.
We have a motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to public comment for items not on the agenda. No public tonight, so we will move to action items. Greg, I'll turn that over to you.
All right, action items. The only thing we have on the agenda this evening is review and potential approval of the policies in Section 5. Those are the policies that we went over at the last meeting. And Steve led us through that. He made the corrections and modifications that we talked about. And so I'll turn it back over to Steve to finish us up on that.
Okay, like Greg said, we have been going through the review of our policies, and in December's board meeting, we had a great discussion about the entire Pirate Policy 5 customer account billing and administrative policies. And in your packet, you will find a cover sheet stating the proposed changes that we discussed at the board meeting, as well as the entire Policy 5 with the changes that were discussed. So I don't know if anyone would like to re-discuss anything. Tamala, I know you weren't here. If you would like to talk about things in specific.
I thought they all looked good.
Really?
Yeah, that's fine.
They all look good. Is that what Tamara said?
Yeah, there wasn't
I
anything
agree.
that jumped out at
Can
me.
I take your temperature?
Because I agree.
Feeling stuff.
Thank you.
I know, I know. I'm picky when it comes to bylaws and
You're
policies.
thorough, and I'm glad you are. No.
I did not have any questions or concerns when I looked at them.
Well done.
Well done.
Okay, with.
I know you're really
Some
surprised.
sort of
aren't you?
discussion or.
The only thing we'll mention, yeah, we did have really good discussion last time, and the only thing we'll mention is that one of the items that we talked about was possibly narrowing down the number of things that we itemized for fees.
5.5.
In 5.5. And what we presented in the packet today was some revision to that, and obviously we talked about changing some of the numbers. We did that as well in terms of what prices we're charging, but in case the board wanted to narrow that down even more, we did provide an alternate. Now, everybody likes what we have, so I don't know whether to pass it out or not, but
What's
I
the
guess
thought
I'm curious
in
now that
narrowing?
you mention it.
now that I mention
Different
it.
now.
So really, all we did was combine 3 or 4 of those into one paragraph with an hourly charge.
Instead of a flat rate.
Instead of a flat rate. So Steve, if you want to pass that out, we'll give them the opportunity to look at that.
I need one more over here. Okay, thank
You
you.
got one?
Oh.
Yep. You're all set then? So we have the other service work not listed. We kind of made a general description and said, including but not limited to security light connections, setting service poles for customers, commercial meter sets, reading meter at customer's request, and et cetera. Only the labor portion of it at $58.25 an hour, with the 2 asterisks, which mean these are minimum charges subject to adjustment to reflect actual cost. So again, to kind of shorten it up, we took a whole bunch of them and put them into one category. So it's really your choice, whichever way you want it.
And
We're
see,
fine
I
with
would
you.
not have known enough to ask that question until you brought this up, but, I mean, looking at this list, is it fairly comprehensive? I guess there's probably always something outside of that list that might come up.
Possibly, yes.
Okay. So then, looking at the new one kind of accounts for that something that might come up, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
But we also have service call listed here too, which is kind of a catch-all category in the
Yeah.
itemized one.
Yeah.
So,
There was just some discussion about narrowing down the number of different areas, so that was
right,
what Steve did there in case the board wanted to go that way.
yes.
Okay.
And I think wasn't some of them because like the service pole, did you say the pole itself usually costs like 125 or?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so if we just kind of generalize it to whatever it takes, and then there's a little more discretion in terms of what we actually were to charge and.
Well, in this, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I thought you were finished. Apologize. And this might help clarify because like if a customer looked at this and they said, okay, service call, after hours, weekends, and holidays, $90. Well, these are minimum charges. But whereas over here, it gives you a better idea. I know that it's going to be this much an hour.
Right.
So that might, from a customer standpoint, clarify things a little bit better for a customer, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
like I
plus
said-
they don't try to interpret too much either in terms of like, well, if the service pole is 125 and a service call is 90, that means the pole costs $35, and it's like, no, that's not.
Right.
That's why they both have 2 stars, but
Right.
I think it just kind of helps make it simpler. So actually, I do kind of like the new one. How do you come up with 58.25 versus?
That's the average cost of one of our outside people plus the cost of a truck for an hour.
Okay.
And it includes
Includes overhead.
overhead, like
Okay.
benefits and stuff in that guy's hourly rate.
Great
Cool.
job.
Okay.
I like the newer revision
Okay?
here.
Actually, I do too. Especially with these kind of things, I prefer the simple over intricate.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Pamela, your thoughts?
no, I mean, like I said, looking at this, I don't know enough about it to know what questions to ask. But then when you show me this, it's like, oh yeah, that makes more sense. So,
Well, it was even more detailed or more.
right.
Yeah, we
Right,
had already
right,
eliminated
yeah.
like
Before, right.
Right.
Yeah.
We did some work on it, but this was taking it another step.
Well, I think it only cut out like 3 or something. It looks like 2 or 3.
Yes.
But I like the hourly rate, just saying anything else costs at least this much.
Exactly.
And that gives someone somewhere to start.
And just a silly question of, like, if if a customer called and said, I want to know what the rates are, would you show them this page, or do you have a sheet that goes out to a customer that,
We'd show them that page.
okay, okay. Because I think this new proposed version, if I were a customer and I were getting this, this would make more sense to me than this one.
Good.
And plus, I think, sorry, I don't mean to keep talking about this, but on the original one, all the ones with the double star, aside from just the service call, those are the kinds that I think you would be, they're almost all like kind of a custom job, right? Because you don't really know what you'll see at the site, or like a meter set or
Until you
something
get
with a
there.
customer. You know, that fee is almost irrelevant because no one's going to get charged that. It's just going to be whatever it takes to do that meter set.
That's true.
Right.
Yep. Okay, good.
So
And we'll entertain a motion if everybody's,
I move then to accept the, all of the changes to section 5 with tonight's change for policy 5.5.
No support.
We have a motion and support. If there is no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And then can I just ask you a stupid bookkeeping question? Will you then give us a replacement for this page, or,
Next month,
Okay.
I will have
I mean,
it's going to be in color, one side.
Oh,
I'll go
so you are
ahead
gonna-
and
okay.
take out your old 5,
Okay.
put in your new one. So
Okay.
I should bring my book
So
back.
complete old
Yeah.
5.
So you can give me a,
I'll give you a 6
Okay.
and a 5, a little
okay,
sticker.
thank you.
can I get a gold star too?
and a partridge.
Thank you. All right.
The stickers have a whole new meaning when you've got little kids. They're everywhere. I had to go in public with a sticker on my forehead because my kids have it.
All right, performance data.
Well done, man.
You have the performance data for the month of December. We have total electric sales for the month of December was down a little bit from the previous year. Not a huge amount. And, residential sales were down a little bit. Commercial sales were down a little bit. Everything else held pretty stable for the month. After that, we have our total electric requirements for the month of October, and that was significantly above the October a year ago. Peak demand was also above for the month of November over the previous year, and we had no internal generation during the month of November. The residential and commercial billing statistics are the same. We only update those quarterly. Flipping to the second page, we have our investments in cash. They continue to hold right there at the 1.6 million mark, actually up a little bit from last year at this time. Delinquents, I think this is the third or fourth month in a row that we've had a 0 there on the delinquent balance from the previous month.
Wow.
And then when we look at the last line in that section, the delinquent balance of inactive accounts, that's up a little bit from the previous month, from 9,000 to 11,000, but down a couple thousand from last year. So we're still right in that ballpark. And the aging analysis, again, right in that 40-some thousand ballpark, down a few thousand from last year and a couple thousand from the previous month. So everything seems to be holding pretty constant there, and little bits of improvement as we go along, and still really great that we're seeing a lot of 0 amounts owed on current accounts after you've had the chance to go through the process with them.
I'm curious, do you think the MEP program is having any impact on that? I mean, are you, or no?
I think it's probably having some, because we're, Sharon's running all over doing, energy audits and holding classes with people. I mean, she's going to Belding and
Wow, they're keeping you busy.
they are.
They are.
But quite a number of them are our customers. And
Right, right.
doing the energy audit with them and getting them a little more in tune to how they might be able to save money, and she's installing some energy efficiency items for them, I think is helping them recognize that they do have some control over their electric bill.
Yeah, she yells at me every time she
Set up a
comes to my
payment
house about
plan.
my light bulbs.
And well, she should.
They need to come out with a three,
Yeah.
a three thing.
A three-way.
Well, I was going to say three-way, and I thought that sounded bad. So.
All right.
It's a different.
Anything else on the performance data? If not, we'll move on.
Well, that's awesome.
Okay.
Kudos to you guys for getting that the delinquency down. That's
Yeah,
really
I-
good.
Is this the third or fourth month in a row?
I mean,
I
that's
think
at least the
awesome.
third.
It's at least the third, it might be the fourth. Yeah,
Check on
yeah,
that.
that's doing well. Yeah, we're real pleased with that. Income statement, we are seeing the impact of the unseasonably warm, although it seems pretty frigid today, fall that we had in December, was unbelievable in terms of, I don't think we had any snow on the ground, hardly to speak of during the month of December, and pretty mild temperatures. So revenue was down for the month of December, significantly under budget, I would say, about 8%. And so that hits us hard in terms of the revenue that we have. We usually start picking up in November and December as people start turning on their furnaces, but we're under budget on the revenue of about $250,000 at 6 months year to date. And so that's okay. It's not where we'd like to be, but it'll be fine. As you go down through expenses, we're under budget on, I think, every expense item in our budget. For purchase power, that's the one we watch most closely because that amounts to about 65 to 68% of our overall expenses. We were slightly over for the month. And that's usually odd when we're under in revenue. We're usually under in purchase power as well. But Bell River was down for a significant portion of the month, and so we not only had our overhead costs on Bell River, but we had to go buy off the market. And you can see that on our deficiency energy charges, we were over $20,000, $30,000 in each of those two categories. So that's what pushed purchase power over for the month. We're still under year-to-date by about $65,000 in purchase power.
Can you explain what deficiency energy charge means?
That's where our Bell River isn't producing, and so we're deficient in what we need to provide our customers. We have to go out to the market and buy it. And so because we're deficient in MISO, we're charged for not being able to come up with the energy that we said that we could.
So that's a charge on top of the market cost of the energy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, part of it is that, and part of it is the actual cost of the energy itself.
Oh, so the cost of that energy is part of that deficiency energy charge.
Yes.
Yes.
And then there's also the charge on top of that for
Right.
not kind of living up to the,
The capacity that we
the
think.
capacity would
Right.
state it, yeah.
Right. And we get down to the middle of page 4. Our total operating expenses are $107,000 under year-to-date. But when you weigh that against the $250,000 that we're off in revenue, we're still behind on our operating income, even though we had an operating income of $68,000 for the month. We're $151 under budget year-to-date. And that follows on through to the net income as well. We did have a net income month. It wasn't $35,000. It wasn't as good as we had budgeted, and we're still about $150,000 under budget year-to-date. If the rest of January, February, and March turn out to be anything like January started out, then I think we'll be in good shape by the end of the winter. Any questions on the income statement?
So that $150,000 off of the budget, difference, is that largely due to that deficiency energy, or that type of, is that like the main issue that's part of that, or is there?
That and the fact that we're not selling as many kilowatt hours.
Okay, so that and there's the warm December.
Right.
Okay.
Those two things combined. I don't have the exact numbers. Steve may know more, but I think we're probably somewhere in the 500,000 to 600,000 kilowatt hours behind this year over what we did a year ago. So a big portion of it is the kilowatt hours that we haven't sold because the temperature's been fairly
year was
mild
brutal.
all fall.
The summer was pretty,
Yeah, summer wasn't
Yeah,
as,
that was pretty mild.
summer wasn't as hot as it normally
Right.
is, so
Right.
sales were down then, and then the fall being not as cold as it normally is, sales are down, so it's been piling up or adding up over the 6 months with a fairly constant mild first 6 months. Capital expenses, this gives us an idea of where we are year-to-date. We're again halfway through the year. We still have in our capital budget $500,000, $500,000. We have spent $458,000 on the biodigester so far this year. And we'll, as you may remember, we talked about the fact that we'll true this up when we start the budgeting process next month and look at our cash flow and everything as we get into budgeting and true up these capital expenses and make sure that we still think that money's going to be there to meet these needs. And sometimes we may have to make an adjustment, sometimes we make an adjustment up in the capital plan if we're having a really good revenue year, sometimes we have to bump it down a little bit. So we'll true that up next month. The second capital budget sheet just shows it by individual project, where the money has been spent. And again, we're almost at our budget for the biodigester project. We're close to being at the end of that. And I mentioned to Greg Canfield earlier today that it was really a good day today because the biodigester ran and we put electricity, we put current into the system today with the biodigester. So we made gas, the engine was running, and we're putting electricity into the system. So that was a great thing today.
And no smoke.
No smoke. Yeah. So they're only about at half capacity and they're still testing, and I think they're going to run again tonight. Is that right, Tom?
Told me he was gonna start it up at 8 o'clock and then go home and hopefully it'll run all night unless they run out of gas from the digester itself.
Right.
Wow.
So, and Tom's very impressed with the
Exciting.
engine. He said it's a pretty sweet engine. So, after we're up and running full time, we'll do another tour of the warehouse, maybe when it's a little warmer. And the engine is really quiet. You can't even hear it at all inside the building.
We could
So-
put that engine in the container outside.
That's great.
I mean, because I know this is sort of a unique thing in our state and across the country that we have this biodigester. Is there any chance that we can get some PR value out of the fact that this is kicking out some
Absolutely.
energy? Can we
Absolutely.
maybe have the news media come out and?
As soon as we
Okay.
have, debugged, they have 30
Okay.
days now to
Okay.
run it and
Okay.
work the bugs out of it before we have what we call the commission date.
Okay.
And then once we get past the commission date, we'll do that. And
Cool.
the other thing I was going to mention, I didn't even have it on my
Awesome.
manager's report, is that we've been invited to speak at the Technical Operations Conference this spring about the biodigester. So Tom got that invitation, and so he and I are going to do a presentation at the APPA conference in Sacramento.
Awesome.
That's the first step.
Is someone gonna film that?
We'll make sure so.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. I think I better go just to do, no.
That is huge.
That's really cool. Very cool.
Outages. We had one outage in the month of December. That was great. Compared to the 9 that we had last year during the month of December. If you remember, we had all that ice and
Oh, yeah.
a lot of trouble around the state with ice storms, but we only had one outage. And there was I think a jumper that burned out, a piece of equipment, and that was replaced. We had 40-some customers out, so not a bad month from an outage standpoint.
Wow. 9 last year.
And then on to the manager's report. I don't have anything specifically for MPPA and MEA at this time. There was a lot of scheduling issues this year with both those organizations, and so they've moved their meeting for the first 7 months of the year to the 3rd week of the month. So it used to be that I always met the Tuesday, or the Wednesday and Thursday of our board meeting with MPPA and MEA, so I'd always have a fresh update. But now it's going to be the week after for the first 7 months, so I'll have to fill you in next month on what happened this month. APPA, the upcoming annual Line Workers Rodeo and Operations Technical Conference in May 15th through 17th in Sacramento. We will have some people going, and as I mentioned, at least Tom and I, and we're probably going to get Spartan involved too. We'll be giving a presentation there on the biodigester. Also, our new alignment apprentice, Rich Muchler, is signed up to participate in the apprentice events at the rodeo. So, again,
Take
anybody
pictures and post it on Facebook. That's really cool.
It is. We're excited about that as well. So he even started the classes late because of his start date here. They'd already started the apprentice classes, and he's worked extra at home to get caught up. And by the end of January or end of February, I think he'll be caught up with the class and taking his tests. And he and Mark are out training for the apprentice activities at Sacramento, climbing poles, and so he's excited, and we're excited that he's excited.
Is Perry going out? Doesn't he usually do the
Yeah, I
lights
think
and
Perry's
rodeo?
going, and I think you're going to go too, Greg?
I think so, yeah, I gotta look at my schedule yet, but yes.
So, it'll be good. The legislative rally is March 9th through 11th in DC. If anybody wants to attend that, just let Sharon or myself know. And then there's a Joint Action Agency, APPA meeting this next week, and I'll be attending that as the board chair for MPPA. System generation and upgrade. I think I've given you most everything in terms of update. The greatest thing was that we actually ran and put electricity into the system today. One thing I did want to note, though, is that Lighthouse is not hooked up yet. They're still having a little difficulty with getting the material pumped to the site from Lighthouse. So that's one thing that they're still waiting to finish up before they can get online fully. And the housing container that does the wastewater treatment, that does the separation of the Lighthouse waste, is still being finished up at our end. So they're a little trouble with the pumping at their end, and we're not quite ready to receive it at our end, but we're hoping by the end of the month that'll all be taken care of, and we'll be taking the Lighthouse waste as well. So,
Are we getting any complaints, concerns about odor or anything? Is that?
we haven't heard anything.
Okay.
We can't smell anything outside ourselves.
Okay.
There is
None of the
some.
neighbors are calling in?
None of the neighbors are calling in.
Good.
We do have odor inside the building, and it's not from the manure. It's from the fog. It's from the fat soils and grease.
Oh,
So
okay.
that we didn't expect, but it's there. It's not anything that's terrible. Tom lives with it every day, right?
Smell it now.
He said it's kind of sweet.
Does it make you hungry?
Yeah. He wants to go to McDonald's every day. I don't know why.
Yeah.
He and Mark buy a lot of Myers chicken for lunch, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not.
Those are good.
Yes.
Before you turn the page, what is this with this flaring? Does that mean people are going to see little flames shooting out? I mean, will that
Well, like I
cause
said,
alarm
big
for
flame.
anybody?
We see a big flame.
Or come roast the marshmallows?
Bring a long stick. Bring a long stick, yeah. In
That
fact, it
won't
was.
create any concern for anybody?
It might.
Okay.
But we have let the fire department know, and we've
Okay.
let other people in the area know that the flaring could happen. And in fact, it did flare last night.
Okay.
And Tom has a picture of it. It's a nice blue 15-foot flame. Looks really nice.
Post on Facebook.
But yeah, that will happen occasionally, especially during this phase where they produce gas and then we run, and then they produce gas and we run, and sometimes they won't be able to time that right. So the bubble in the tank will be full, and they'll have to flare some of that to be able to let more gas into it since they're not running.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to burn it, you can't just release it, right?
Can't just release it,
Okay.
correct. So there's a flare on it that burns it, and again, it's very similar to what you see as you drive up
Yeah.
131 or something like that, and you go through some of the Kalkaska area oil fields, and they're flaring natural gas that they can't get into a distribution system fast enough, so. Policy review, we did section 5. Steve has section 6 to hand out to you this evening. It's the engineering and operating policies, and we're giving them to you ahead of time so that you can have all month to peruse them. You won't have to crunch during the last week before the February board meeting, and we can talk about those at the February board meeting. We'll also have our preliminary budgeting presentation at the February meeting, so those will probably be the two main things on the agenda for February. We'll look at policies for section 6, and we'll look at the preliminary long-range plan for the budgeting, from which then we will develop the detailed operating budget. The annual holiday party is coming up on January the 17th at the Lowell Museum. Is that right, Mark? So we hope you all attend. And, bring a appetizer to pass, and something
White
for
elephant.
From, and your white elephant, and it's a good time.
And a smile.
And a smile.
And your beverage.
And your beverage. Oh,
Beverage
yeah,
of
you got
choice.
one.
And your Santa hat.
Good Santa hat.
Oh, yeah, bring my favorite beverage. I don't have a Santa hat, sorry.
And Perry usually does the white elephant, and does a good job at that, so a good time is had by all.
Which you can purchase at Brown's thrift store, just in case you need one.
Yes.
If you don't have anything laying around the
If
house.
you don't have anything you want to re-gift, huh? I did include a couple of articles this month also, and as I come across these, I've started to include them in the board packet just to maybe give you some information on things that might be relevant. The first one was an article that presented a discussion from the Hillsdale Board of Public Utilities regarding a potential issue that they have been talking about with regard to an outage that they had. They are very much like Lowell. They're at the end of a consumer's line, so to speak, a distribution system, and they had an outage where part of that transmission system went down and the whole town was without power for 2 hours. And so that was really a fairly short outage, but it made them realize that there wasn't anything they could do about it. Their hands were tied. They were pretty much stuck. And so now they're in discussions about what they should do about having some internal generation that would help mitigate that if there was a major outage. So we're about 6 years ahead of them, 6 or 7 years ahead of them in our planning process, and realizing that that's a potential problem. So kudos to the board for having the foresight to be on top of that. And we're in a much better position with our combustion turbines, and now with the biodigester, we have generation in-house that could help mitigate some of those potential issues. So that was one article I thought was interesting, that another board had realized that that's a potential problem.
One comment I would like to make, and it was a lot of board discussion, but your leadership, Greg, was huge in helping us put this stuff together. You kind of gave us that information and some options on things, so you certainly share, I think, the lion's share of the credit for helping us get where we're at when you're thinking outside the box, finding used generators, and we did really well, but a lot of it is the staff and your guidance here.
Well, thank you. It takes a progressive
I
board,
agree.
though, to be able to do anything, so.
Thank you.
It's a good team. It's a good team. Second article was an article on the smart grid. A release that was put out by the Department of Energy regarding smart grid, smart meters, smart technologies, and how that's helping increase reliability. Not only having your own generation is going to help increase reliability, but there's a lot of other new technical things out there in the industry that help increase reliability as well. And As most of you know, if not everybody, we did a pilot study on electronic meters and have 200 of them installed by Myers, and they're working well and doing a great job for us. We're looking at installing a full range deployment of those in the next 2 or 3 years as we can do that. And Perry brought in last month an article that indicated that maybe there's some medical issues with respect to smart meters and the smart meter system. I read the article, I looked through it, I also have looked through the journals, and I can't find anything that really nails the fact that these health issues are specifically due to anything with smart meters. I think it's like anything. There's going to be people that are susceptible to certain conditions in their environment and may react to it. And I think that's what was really presented in that article that Perry brought in last week. And so I think the key here is to be flexible. And most of the utilities that I know of that have gone through a full deployment of these electronic meters, have allowed for people not to be on the system if they don't want to. If they don't want to have a smart meter, that's fine. And specifically in a utility our size, I think that's fairly easy to accommodate. If there were a dozen people in our system that didn't want them, and we had to go out and read individually 12 meters a month, that's not a huge deal from my perspective. So
It's one more thing for Sharon to do.
yeah, one more thing for Sharon to do. So I think that it's something to be cognizant of, and I think we need to be prepared to present information if we need to, if we have people that are opposed to them. But everything I've been able to read, there's no more electromagnetic field from a smart meter than there is from your heating pad that you lay on when you get a sore back. So if that bothers people, if that creates skin issues with people, then I'm guessing they don't use heating pads either. So that's just an update on that. And again, I thought the article was interesting in that it pointed out that there is definitely some benefit from a reliability standpoint to the smart meters and the information that they offer and the ability to get your system back online and find out exactly where the issues are and what meters are down and what transformer that's tied to. And that's a huge technology benefit in terms of how we get people back in service when you have an outage. So I think that's about all I had this month. We have payables available if anybody would like them. And with that, I guess I'm back to you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, you have the schedule of meetings in your packet. Our meeting next month on the 12th, I have to check my schedule. I may not be here for that.
Okay.
But I will let you know that. Carry on without me if we're not. Complaint register, no new complaints. Congratulations. That's what, probably 6-8 months now I think we're moving along, so that's great.
Is that a record?
No. A couple of years.
Yeah.
That brings us to board comment at this point. Tina, we'll start with you.
Great. I have just a couple things. For the delinquency, 0 once again at the end of the month. That's fabulous. And I think we're going on month 4. And the biogester running today. That's just beautiful. I'm just in awe. Next time, grab your phone and give us a video so we can kind of hear it kind of hum, so that I can't wait for us to be able to go over there and stand there and hear this awesome biogester just hum. It's just beautiful. And the last one is the APP speaking invitation for you gentlemen. You know, it's like we're going to the Olympics, you guys. That's huge. That's awesome to get an invitation for speaking engagement about what's going on in Little Lowell, Michigan. Thank you. I'm really proud of this board. I'm proud of this town. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Andrew?
I just wanted to say I was glad to hear that you got to push the button. After, I don't know how many years ago it was we were in Germany, but, you know, it's nice to kind of know that all that stuff we witnessed there and that you were all excited about, that finally got to push the button on ours here, so.
It is cool.
That's just cool. Yeah, that's really cool news. And even just the invite, it also reminds me, as I was thinking about that Germany trip, one thing that the folks from Freiburg have said is that they love to send their people to all the conferences they can to kind of tell the world how awesome they are. It's kind of how they put it. And that's why they like to travel, because they learn, but then they also eventually they start, you know, driving the changes out there. And, you know, that's what we're doing. And that's why we're getting the invites, is because we're doing that kind of stuff. And I think that's another good reflection on what Lowell is doing, you know, and specifically us at Light and Power and, you know, the staff here. So good job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
So, in the absence of Greg, I'll just go ahead and assume it's my turn next, right?
Where's our leader?
Yeah, I mean, I echo what these guys have said. I think that's great news. I looked at the clock and I'm like, I think this is the shortest board meeting I've ever been to since I joined the board. Not that I've been on really long, but wow, it's like really quick. And I just want to say again, I know I've said this before, but I am sort of a policy and bylaw fiend when it comes to my work that I do with nonprofits, and so I really, really appreciate the time and energy that the staff is spending going through this, really thinking through, you know, what works, what makes sense, what's best for us to serve the community. So I really appreciate the time and energy that you're spending on that, because I just think, to me, I look at this as our boundary, and if we really clearly understand and can articulate what our boundaries are, it's going to help us operate that much better. So I really appreciate the time and energy that you're spending on that. I do want to encourage us to really be mindful of the PR value of some of these awesome things that are happening. I think it's important that we get that good story out there, not just in Lowell, but let's kind of toot our horn a little bit out there, you know, because there's some really big things happening. And I think it's important for us to be sending out the press releases, to be making sure that we're updating Facebook really regularly and putting all those fun little things on there that, hey, we powered up today or whatever.
Push the button.
Yeah, I mean, just to get that stuff out there. And then lastly, I just want to mention that I would really, really encourage people. I think it's very important as a board that we make sure that every single conference has board representation. So I think that's so important. I know that you guys were talking about going out for the rally, but or for the linesman rodeo. But I think it's really important that we make sure that there's someone from the board going to the legislative rally, and to really take advantage of that, because it helps make us better board members. I think it helps us be a stronger board, and to bring that information back. So I just want to make sure that we're being mindful of that somebody is volunteering to go to all of those things. So I would encourage everybody. And lastly, I have to say I was really highly disappointed while I was off enjoying the other side of the equator in the summer weather that I had down in Uruguay last month. You all were getting really mild temperatures, which just sort of annoyed me, I just have to say. It's like, what do you mean it's not snowing? You're supposed to have snow and cold. So, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Mark?
I have nothing.
All right. Mr. Mayor?
You got to run on a short meeting. I hate to slow that down.
We had a incredibly short city council meeting Monday night also, so I think it's just the season. But we passed rules and procedures and for the coming year, and all that's good. And we're looking forward to the holiday party, so we'll leave it there.
Cool.
Great. No, just I'll echo the other sentiments. You know, the biodigester, what an awesome thing. From something we just talked about as a possibility, and here we are pushing the button and it's running. So big progress has been made here in the last 5-6 years. Congratulations to the staff on having such a fine organization that we can all be so proud of. You guys are out there in the trenches doing it, so thank you to the staff. That was all I had. point, we could roll call vote to go to
Closed session.
closed session.
Canfield,
Yes.
closed session for union negotiation update. Canfield.
Yes.
Do we need a motion to do this, or?
I move to
Yes.
go into closed session.
I'll support.
All right, we have a motion and support, thank you. Roll call.
All right, let me get caught up here. Canfield,
Yes.
Schraven,
Yes.
Spicer,
Yes.
Caldwalder.
Yes.
All right, we are in closed session.
Here is an updated copy, just if you want to put it in your packet, because I think they're going to be reviewing 6 next meeting.